Chicago, where the fire serve cold, but the Wolves and the Hawks never shiver in the snow. The Bulls keep it running, the Sox run the South, the Cubs run the North, but the Bears run the house. True Chicago sports fans got their ears to the street. Any team make a move and they never skip a beat. And in this house, this is where we be. Welcome to the show with E-Rock and Big Z.
Welcome to Chicago. Coming from the True Chicago Sports Fan Cave, this is the TCSF podcast with E-Rock and Big Z.
Yeah, boy.
There you go. Episode 77 is brought to you by 606 Media, True Chicago Sports Fans, ACSI, and Grit Clothing Company. Don't forget to go to gritclothingco.com and get your official TCSF podcast t-shirts. Search for keyword True Chicago and use our promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off your entire order. That is TrueFan15. Go and get your official TCSF shirts now.
Right now.
That's right. As always, I am Big Z, and I'm here with my boy E-Rock. What up, E?
What's good, Z? What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the show. If you are a first-timer or a long-timer, please remember to hit that subscribe button, that notify button, and go ahead and give us a review on your listening app of choice. And, you know, it is the holiday season. Why not give us 5 stars? You know you want to. Don't forget, you can support the show with the monthly subscription at anchor.fm/True Chicago Sports Fans. Go on over there and click on support, and you can subscribe for as low as 99 cents a month. Look, it's going to be a new year. Might as well put a little bit of coin in our pocket so we can continue to deliver you the content you deserve. Look, if you like the show, tell your friends and they will tell their friends, and we can all be friends and talk about all types of sports, movies, and ill shit, because that is what we do. Z, what's up, my brother? How was your Christmas?
Christmas was good, man. Merry Christmas to you and your family, bro.
You.
Thank you. Well, it's been another year of amazing health and family, and that's all I can ask for during these holidays. There's nothing else I can ask for, because that's the most important thing out there. For those wondering, we took first place in the second quarter of our bowling season. That's right. Your boy helped out the team. I didn't bowl as well as last week, but I held my own. Shout out to the boys on the bowling team for doing so well this quarter. And then lastly, I am officially off of work. I get to catch up on my house duties. Like, I get to clean the house, give the dog a little bath, clean his kennel cage there, and reorganize the office. Finally, I have been contemplating some ideas to fix my office there so I can not do it in the living room anymore. Anyways, bro, how were your holidays, brother?
Good, man. For those wondering, we're on Zoom again, so if you hear us kind of not talk over each other and you don't hear me yell at Z, that's why. So we want to make sure that we're both heard, and that's why we're taking turns. But yeah, I mean, look, Christmas was great. You know, I spent Christmas Eve doing a little last-minute shopping, wrapping presents, and, you know, some people like to listen to Christmas music, but me, I listened to the new album by Mike Logic. As I was saying, don't forget to check it out on mikelogic.bandcamp.com, miclogik.bandcamp.com. Don't forget to also get your physical copy, or you can stream the album wherever you like to listen to your music. And let me tell you, it puts me in a good mood when I get my whiskey on the rocks. That's what track 2 I want to say. So check it out. I actually was drinking whiskey on Christmas. We had some of that screwball and rum chata mixed together. That was something else, man.
I've never had that. You still have some at home?
It wasn't at my house, man. I'm not dumb or smart enough to host Christmas in my house. I ain't doing that. But no. Yeah, I mean, look, Christmas morning was great with the wife and kids on Saturday. I got a couple of new Bears hats, like the one I was showing you earlier. I got the one with the 85 Bears logo on the side and the orange under the brim. I was geeked about that one. I got a new Cubs hat, a bunch of hoodies, and guess what? I got my first non-Chicago sports team piece of gear. Everyone knows that your first love is baseball and your second team is the Dodgers after the White Sox. And my first love is football, and my second team after the Bears is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I got a nice little Pittsburgh Steelers pullover hoodie. So I was rocking that. I put it on Facebook with all my Steeler friends. I was like, hey, can I be at the cool kids table now?
That's awesome.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool, and you know, I got a couple of books, a couple of things for the house here, and one of the coolest things that my wife got was a popcorn a machine to put down here in the basement. So, because we like to watch a lot of movies, and we're all, you know, big popcorn fans down here, so kind of get our own thing going on here. So it was cool, man, you know. And then in the afternoon, went over to visit some family. We hadn't gotten together since 2018 with COVID last year and the passing of my uncle in 2019. We have not all been together for quite some time. So it was great to see everyone. Like I said, we drank some of that screwball, relaxed, and just, you know, chill out and kick it and, you know, play goofy games and stuff like that. So it was cool, man.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I was able to win some money playing some loteria. That's the Mexican version of bingo. And we played some I forgot the name of some card game, but it was weird. But we're playing that, and then we playing some dominoes as well. And you know, this Puerto Rican can dominate some dominoes, so I was slapping them ivories down and taking some money over there. But yeah, man, there's nothing like spending time with your friends and family for the holidays. It just especially with the pandemic, it makes you appreciate when you can get together, because you don't know when you're going to be able to see those people ever again. You know, time is very limited. That's something that we don't have control of. So when you have the time, spend time with your friends and family and make the best of every occasion.
Yeah, absolutely. You are. I don't even want to say you're 100% correct, because you're going to go ahead and try to bring that back. But look now. Hey, look, you're right on that. I mean, like, I think after everything that we've been through in the last 2 years, it is really important to hug your family, hug your friends. You know, one of the coolest things I actually saw on Facebook this week was someone put a meme out there, and it was like, tell your friends that you love them. I mean, make sure they know. Make it weird. Make it, hey, I love you, brother. You know what I mean? I wish everything best. I wished all the good things for you and all the bad things for your enemies. And that's how it goes. So it is really important. And look, Christmas is officially over. It is almost 2022, and maybe you need a fresh start. So let me tell you about a great opportunity with our friends over at ACSI. With over 50 expert technicians in the Chicagoland area, ACSI offers a one-stop shop for telecom wiring. Whether residential cable installation, fiber to the home, or commercial structured cable wiring, ACSI is a proud partner of both Comcast and RCN. Let me tell you the most impressive thing about ACSI. During these hard times, the ACSI crew did their thing during the COVID-19 pandemic, and ACSI was awarded Hacia's 2020 Contractor of the Year award. The best part is that ACSI is growing bigger and better than ever. ACSI is now hiring for field sales technicians and project managers. Check out ACSI.tech. That's ACSI.tech, and click on careers to apply today. ACSI is an equal opportunity employer.
Go get you a job.
It is the end of the year. This week, there's some foles in this house. The Bears done messed around and won a game, so we actually have to talk about a Bears win. That's right. Nick Foles takes over under center with Justin Fields out with an ankle and Dalton on the COVID list. And we continue to talk about our take on the Bears coaching search. And hey, this week it's Justin Fields' college coach, Ryan Day. Oh, we also got some stories about the Bulls, the Blackhawks, and we talk about some of our favorite sports moments of 2021. And as always, stirring the pot and what you looking at. But first, this is the Big Three with Big Z.
Thanks, E-Rock. I'm Big Z, and you're not. Now, for today's stories. Story number 1. A woman is accused of killing her boyfriend with a sword on Christmas Eve. Yeah, this is a wild story. Let me cue this up for you. All right, here we go. All right. Police in Missouri arrested a 32-year-old Brittany Wilson on Christmas Eve for stabbing to death her boyfriend. According to the news release, police found Wilson standing outside her boyfriend's home Friday night, 11:05 p.m., covered in blood. This was reported by KFVS. Officers spotted a sword in the lawn. When authorities questioned Wilson outside, investigators made their way inside to discover the body of the deceased male in the basement. Police said that the body had suffered a fresh stab wound. Authorities have not yet identified the victim, waiting for the family to be notified of his death. Police arrested Wilson and transported her to Cape Girardeau Municipal Jail. Prosecutors presented the case to Judge Frank E. Miller. Hey, he writes the Batman stories. Who issued a warrant on Wilson for first-degree murder and armed criminal action. She's being held on a $2 million bond. Dude, her picture, her mug picture, she's smiling and tilting her head to the left. She's crazy, bro.
So I saw that mug shot. That's scary as hell. And the funny thing about this story is that after our boy Georgie got married, his sister came up to me and says, "Hey, we have this sword in storage, and I know you like to collect a lot of weird stuff. We don't need it, and if you want it, you can have it." So I told her, I says, "Yeah, that's cool. You know, I'll find somewhere down here to display it." And I made a mention that I would come and pick it up, and my wife was like, "Nope. No, mm-mm." And I was like, it's just a sword. I mean, it's a dull sword. And after hearing this story, I am going to make sure that thing never shows up in my house. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, you don't want to get all Game of Thrones and stuff, during a fight or something. So keep that over there. All right, story number 2. Pro boxer Danny Kelly Jr. killed in possible Maryland road rage incidents that police say. All right, so Dan Kelly Jr., a professional boxer who last fought in 2019, was shot and killed on Christmas Eve in what Maryland authorities are investigating as a possible road rage incident. The 30-year-old and his family were traveling to a holiday event where the suspect's vehicle pulled up next to Kelly's family vehicle and opened fire. Prince George's County Police said it did not appear his girlfriend or the 3 children that were in the vehicle were hurt during the shooting. Responding officers found Kelly unconscious in the driver's seat of his vehicle, and he was later pronounced dead at the hospital. Detectives are investigating the deadly incident as a possible road rage incident and are working to identify the suspect and the vehicle, police said. This is an absolutely heartbreaking loss for Mr. Kelly's family and friends. He is not home with his loved ones today on Christmas, and we are now mourning his loss instead of celebrating the holiday. Acting Major David Blazer of Prince George's County Police Department Major Crimes Division said in a statement. This is wild, brother.
Yeah, I mean, we hear about road rage incidents, especially here in Chicago, all the weird stuff that we hear on the expressway, somebody driving home and maybe they cut someone off. Maybe it's just random. We don't know what's going on with this road rage stuff, but it's scary, and it's to the point where even like as a softball coach, I got to be careful with a baseball bat in the back of my car, because if I get pulled over, they see that thing. I got to make sure there better be a glove and a bag and some balls in there or something. Because if it's just right now, I think there's 2 bats in my car with no other equipment because we had to take it out for Christmas. So I mean, you never know what's going on out there. And hey, you get people in the car that want to be a tough guy, they want to be a big man, and it's just wild, man. It's a sad story, and it sucks that this young man was taken away right around the holidays, and his family does not get to celebrate with him. And to me, like, whenever you deal with a tragedy around the holiday, the worst part about that is not just losing a loved one, but like now you are always going to associate that holiday with their passing every single year. That's the part that's terrible to me.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's wild, man. Even last night, we're recording on Sunday, but last night I was traveling to go see family members and so forth, and I'm doing, 80, 85 on the Jeep, and the Jeep only goes up to 100. So I'm not going that fast. I'm going 85. I'm staying up with traffic in the left lane. And these guys are just zooming by like at 120 miles an hour, and, BMWs or Chargers and this and that. And they're just flying by, giving no regards to anybody else on the road. And even on my way to work, when I would go to work in the morning on the 290, there's people driving 80, 95 miles an hour on the emergency lane, just trying to get past all the traffic. You know what? Go ahead, get past me. I don't care. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I usually do is I go 80 on the 94, and when I do that, I listen to the song 80 on the 94 from Mike Logic's brand new album. As I was saying, miclogik.com. Go miclogik.bandcamp.com. Go check them out, 80 on the 94. I just had to slip that in there real quick. Hey, listen, I wanted to give a quick update before you get to the third big 3 story. I wanted to give a quick update about the story that we talked about before. Former NFL player Vincent Jackson, the wide receiver we talked about that had passed away, he actually died of chronic alcohol use. The medical examiner report was filed this week. Yeah, so basically he drank himself to death in a hotel room, and that's what happened. So I mean, yes, it was a different. We talked about a possible suicide and things like that. Essentially, that's what this is. Unfortunately, I know of another person that I was indirectly involved with that actually went the same way, and it's scary. And it's just, I think it was known that he was an alcoholic. He did have a history of alcohol abuse. So, again, it's a sad story, and we wish he could have came out of this, but unfortunately that's what happened. So we just wanted to give you a little bit of an update about what happened with him.
Yeah, thanks for the update, man. It's sad, if someone has a problem, reach out to your family members and to somebody you can trust, and have a conversation. Like we've always said, that we want to hear from you, and instead of missing you. So, all right, story number 3. Let's end on the high note, brother. All right, sweet repeat. Brothers regift the same hard candy for decades. This sounds something like Eddie would do. Manchester, New Hampshire. 2 New Hampshire brothers have gotten their holiday regifting skills down to an art. They've been passing the same hard candy back and forth over 30 years. It started in 1987 when Ryan Wasson gave a 10-row Frankfurt Santa candy book with assorted fruit flavors to his brother Eric Wasson as a joke for Christmas, knowing that Eric wouldn't like it. "I didn't eat them," Eric said. And so the next year I thought, hey, I think I'm going to give it back to him. He'll never remember. But Ryan immediately recognized it, and they've been taking turns ever since, keeping a log of their exchanges. They've gotten creative about it. Ryan told the station that the candy has been frozen in a block of ice and put in Jello, adding he one time sewed it into a teddy bear. This is getting crazy. The tradition has also involved family members, co-workers, and even a sheriff's department. Last year, it was presented to Ryan on a silver platter at a restaurant. This year, Ryan returned to a social media group for suggestions, including having to arrive via pizza delivery on Christmas with Christmas carols, hiding it in a book or a cake, or holding a scavenger hunt with clues. If you ask which one has ever done it best as far as giving these, we're both going to say it's ourselves, right? We're never going to give in. This is an awesome story that you just keep on, and they're probably going to make a movie on it, just like they did that Tag movie.
Yeah, that's exactly what this reminds me of, is that Tag movie with the 5 friends that played like a 30-year game of tag, and it was pretty cool. But I mean, I had a group of friends previously that we would do something where we would do a grab bag, and it was always going to be a gag gift. One year, a couple years actually, back and forth, the gag gift was a DVD box from some foot porn. And it just kind of like, at one point it showed up in someone's luggage, and when they had to go through the TSA, they're like, oh, what the, and I think what it was is it ended up in someone's luggage they had borrowed. They returned it back to that person, and it turned out that luggage belonged to that person's mom. So when they went to TSA, they pulled out the foot porn at the airport. Like, what the hell is this? So, yeah, we had a little group where we did some interesting things over the years. But yeah, I mean, it's I love these type of stories. These are always the fun ones, and those are the good stories that we hear about during the holidays after some depressing stuff that goes on.
Yeah, definitely. This is one for the books, man. Maybe we'll start a new tradition with the TCSF crew, man.
That's a good idea. I like that. But no, as long as there's no Packers stuff involved, because I mean, I think whoever receives that would just burn it, and then it would just kill the whole thing.
Yeah, agreed. We'll have to put some baseline rules for that. Yeah, no Packers stuff. Yeah, definitely. Or Cardinal stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
I'm Big Z, and that's news to me. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Hey, want you Chicago sports fans, show off your Chicago pride with some fresh clothes from Grit Clothing Company. At Grit Clothing, they create that simple yet classic style that represents that Chicago Southside lifestyle. From t-shirts to hoodies, hats to glassware, they've got you covered. Grit has everything you need to represent your Chicago pride. So do it right now. Check out gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15.
TrueFan15
for 15% off your entire order. Let me say it again. That's gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off of your entire order.
Welcome back to the TCSF podcast with E-Rock and Big Z.
Oh, yeah.
This is The Loop, our Chicago sports roundup where we keep you in the loop.
This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago.
This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago.
Z, what's going on at the Madhouse on Madison with the Chicago Blackhawks?
But hey, as they say in hockey, let's do that hockey.
The Chicago Blackhawks will return from the holiday break looking a lot more like its spring 2021 version rather than the 2021 fall version. And the Blackhawks' first game back will be today against the Blue Jackets. The Blackhawks will become one of the guinea pigs for the new approach. So pretty much teams can assign up to 6 players to the taxi squad at a time, although they're not required to assign any if they want to keep their AHL team flush with talent. There are a number of specific restrictions on which players are eligible for taxi squad and designation. We're not going to get into that because we're not puckheads. And how long they can stay there. Again, they can stay there maximum 20 days. But the Blackhawks are going to restart their season. It's exciting. These guys are playing their hearts out. They had to stop the season just because there's a lot of COVID outbreak, and this is starting to go across all different major NFL, NHL, NBA teams. So we're excited to have hockey back. And the next up for the Blackhawks are the Blue Jackets, the Jets, and the Predators this week.
Yeah, so there was they were the only league that actually took a pause during this latest outbreak. And it was only for a couple days. It was a couple days before Christmas. I want to say it was like the 21st or 22nd. It says, you know what, we're not going to play any more games until after Christmas, after the break. So I think it was a twofold thing. They gave their players some time off to go and be with their families for Christmas. And it also gave them a break to kind of like see if they could, because what we're dealing with now, this variant, the Omicron variant right now, it is very contagious, but it's not as the symptoms are not nearly as strong as some of the other variants that we've seen before. The Delta was actually pretty bad, but this latest one, and you know, just like you and I both been dealing with, there's a cold going around right now, and you know, anyway. So I mean, you're getting guys that are testing positive one day and then the next they're not, because you know, and it's also, I think some of these leagues too are working on the idea that if you don't have symptoms, we're not going to test you if you're vaccinated. I think the NFL is looking into that. I think the NBA has also talked about that as well, because teams like the Bulls had to get actually a few players from the hardship exemption. So it is interesting to see how the different leagues are dealing with COVID live versus what we did last year when there was bubbles and there was no fans and things like that. So it's good to see that. I think we've gotten to a point where we're reacting versus being being preventative. You know what I mean? We can do both at this point.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Another hockey note is that the NHL announced that they are not going to allow the players to play in the Winter Olympics. What's your take on that, man?
So look, to me, that's good and bad, because you're sitting there and you might have been looking forward to for quite a while. There's a lot of players that are they think of that as the end all be all as far as, you know, what's the pinnacle of sports. But yeah, no professional players this year. And right now, if I'm not mistaken, there's not going to be any fans. And there's also a lot of stuff that's going on with China as it is, where I think the president came out and said that they're not going to have the diplomat, whatever the hell it is. There's a lot of weird stuff going on right now with what's going on with the Olympics, and we're not seeing nearly as much fanfare as I think we expected.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, man, what's going on the other side of the building with the Chicago Bulls?
2, 3, 4.
Basketball, gimme the ball because I'm gonna dunk it! Basketball, gimme the ball because I'm gonna dunk it! Basketball, gimme the ball because I'm gonna dunk it!
The Chicago Bulls team-wide COVID-19 saga continues with Alfonso McKinney and Tony Bradley, and now Lonzo Ball has entered the COVID-19 protocols. This was confirmed by his Bulls spokesperson this week. This past Sunday, the Chicago Bulls signed hometown product and to a contract after waiving forward Alize Johnson. Shortly after the signing, the team also said that McKinney landed in the league's health and safety protocols, which we just talked about. So this is a storybook story, that from another childhood kid that makes it to their team. We've had the AO, coming from Illinois and being around the Chicago area. And then now we have this kid, Alfonso McKinney, who said that he was, growing up and it was a Bulls house, and they watched Bulls at his grandma's house, and it's on the TV all the time. This move gives Johnson, whose deal didn't come fully guaranteed until January 7, opportunity to work elsewhere after the early season playing time dried up for him. And it keeps McKinney, who played locally at Curie and Marshall High Schools, in the fold after he originally arrived via the hardship exemption that he talked about on December 10th, signed a 10-day contract that day, which was December 20th. So, this is a great local story, and the Bulls will be back on the court, and they'll play the Hawks, Pacers, and Wizards this week.
Yeah, the Bulls had to make quite a few moves for this hardship extension or exemption, I should say. They also got Ilyasova, who was in the league for a long time, most famously, I think, with the Bucks. They brought him in because they just, you got to a certain point where you just need bodies out there. So, I think that when you're looking, and look, it's a good thing for some of these players that are sitting out there looking for jobs because, damn it. Sorry, fantasy. I'm watching my fantasy scores at the same time, but yeah, this is a good opportunity for some of these guys that might not otherwise have an opportunity. So it is nice to see them to be able to have a chance to get some playing time. And it's unfortunate for a guy like Alize Johnson because we saw him as like a bulldog. We saw him, really attacking the boards and able to actually find himself a role. But with everything that's gone on, him going through the protocols and everything like that with the rest of the team, they just, at that point, you kind of get in where you fit in, and that it didn't fit in anymore.
Yeah, he kind of fell out of the rotation with the coach. And another funny thing is that Joe Johnson, who's been out of the league playing in the Big Three, got signed by an NBA team. This has been crazy. This is great for someone who, you thought was going to be out of the league, and now he's going to be able to be back in the league. Like you said, these guys are getting opportunities, and they have to make the best of it. Speaking of opportunities, we had Isaiah Thomas signed with the Lakers on a 10-day contract, and then after 10 days, he gets cut by the geriatric Lakers.
Yeah, well, I thought that was kind of funny because they signed everybody under the sun, and people were like, where the hell did Isaiah Thomas come from? He's a guy that, like, I feel bad for him because it felt like he was going to have a really good career when he came into the league, and then he just kind of he got injured and he bounced around for a while, and I think more than anything else, he's more famously known as the other Isaiah Thomas, and it kind of sucks for him, but hey, it is what it is. But what can you do? If you won't work out on the Lakers where they let everybody play, too bad, so sad, sir.
Yeah, he definitely shit the bed in his debut out there, averaging about 2 points or something like that. So he's gonna go back to the G League and light it up there, and you can be the best YMCA player, but you're never gonna make it to the NBA, bro. That's what that is.
I want to do a rundown real quick because we are in our loop segment. I'm going to do a rundown of some of the craziest stories that we saw with Chicago sports this year. Number one, the Cubs say goodbye to our 2016 championship heroes. Rizzo, Baez, Bryant, all get traded away. Sad stuff. And I think that was the biggest story for the Cubs this year. Would you agree with that?
I definitely agree with that's one of the biggest stories in Chicago. I mean, it was the end of a dynasty. Yeah, it was the end of the dynasty for the Cubs. It was sad to go. Me myself as being a White Sox fan, you always look on the other side of town. You're like, oh man, Rizzo's the staple. He's the pillar that holds that whole organization up on the field. And then you got KB, who was coming back from a shoulder injury, and he was starting to turn it around. And then Baez is the flair. He's the frosting on that cake. It makes everything taste good. And you saw all three of them go. And it was a huge shock, like you said in prior podcasts. It was a punch to the gut, especially with Rizzo being the first domino to fall. It never feels good to see your favorite players be traded away, even though when you think about it as a business transaction, it's the best thing to do. But as your favorite team, that's not what you ever want to see. You want to see your guys retire on your team, kind of like Cal Ripken.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. And the thing is that when we look at those players, those are the players that helped the Cubs win that 2016 World Series, the first World Series in 108 years. And I don't think any of us thought in a million years that they would all not just all be gone. I think we had an inkling that Bryant would more than likely be gone. But I mean, to see all three of those guys, all in kind of one fell swoop, and especially like you said, and like I said, with Rizzo being number one to go, that was definitely a gut punch. But I think that we're right now, the biggest hope for Cubs fans is that they're going to be able to get their hands on a guy like Carlos Correa, because there's a lot of steam about him coming to the Cubs, and it's still sitting out there. Him talking to Baez about how it was to play for the Cubs. I think the biggest story with him is that it's either going to be the Cubs or the Yankees, like our guy Mikey Deportes talked about a little bit. So I mean, it is definitely a possibility. All right, let's move over to the White Sox. For me, the biggest story about the White Sox in 2021 was their push with their young team and Tony La Russa, and really having a resurgence and going to the playoffs for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, it was a great year for the White Sox. If you want to look at it just by the numbers, it was a great year. Moncada and Tim Anderson put up very similar numbers. You had Abreu doing his thing as usual. You had this pitching staff that has been highly touted, and you had your veterans going out there doing their thing most of the year, and then Keuchel kind of fizzled out. Lance Lynn got tired towards the end. You had a bunch of injuries with Lou Bob and Spider-Man back there in left field, and then the revolving door of left field. That's always been a hole. It's been a hole for a long time. And then we had our Swiss Army knife, Leury Garcia, being all over the place, everything but catching and pitching. The man was put in every situation. And then La Russa, we talked about this to ad nauseum, where he, in my opinion, he just literally sat back and didn't put pressure, didn't light a fire under these guys with a 10-game lead since June or July. They never looked back, and I think that they had a relaxed looking into the playoffs, and that's what cost them in the end.
I said that it was the first time that the White Sox made the playoffs in a long time, and it's actually the first time in White Sox history that they went to back-to-back playoffs. So I would like to say, what the hell, Sox fans, for not just not recognizing that, but not correcting me. So I guess
I can't talk over you.
I'll take that one. But yeah, I mean, I think we can both agree that it is a very exciting time for the Chicago White Sox. It's an interesting time for Chicago baseball in general because of what we're coming off of, what we've seen with the Chicago Cubs for the past 5 years, going to the playoffs consecutively for the past 5 years, starting with that 2015 team. And then now kind of transitioning over. And like I said, if you're a baseball fan and you're Chicago and you're paying attention to the White Sox, whatever you think your rivalry is or whatever it is, you have a friend that is a White Sox fan if you are a Cubs fan, and vice versa. And look, I hope y'all do well. It's interesting to talk about. It's good for the city. It's good for the economy here. And it's good for sports talk, for knuckleheads like us that like to talk about baseball, specifically baseball in Chicago. It is a great story. So that's definitely the biggest story with Chicago baseball. Let's move over to the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, unfortunately, the biggest story for the Blackhawks in 2021 is not a good story. The big story about the Blackhawks this year is not how much they suck or how quick they fired Jeremy Colleton and brought in Walter White. The big story was the sex scandal from the 2010 Stanley Cup playoff run. There was a young man named Kyle Beach who was originally named as John Doe. He came out and he was the one that accused video coach Brad Aldrich of sexually assaulting him and another player during that 2010 year. And it was a terrible story. This is a first round pick who had a ton of potential, and this predator just took his career away from him. There was a lot of chips that fell because of this. Joe Quenneville resigned as the Panthers coach amid the scandal because he knew about it. Stan Bowman is out. It was just an awful story, and there was just so many people that were involved that knew about this, and it was terrible. I got to the point where I walk into the office here in the studio, and even like for a while I was ashamed to like see any Blackhawks logos or wear any Blackhawks gear. It just didn't feel right.
Yeah, I agree. This is you can. I don't want to make it seem smaller than what it is, but this is what the Blackhawks did. It was like the kind of good old boys will be boys kind of thing, and swept everything under the rug. And guess what? That lump, or someone tripped over it and exposed everything that's been going on for such a long time. So you had the coaches, the GMs, all types of coaching staff, players that knew about it, and it's a shameful story, and it is a black eye on the Chicago Blackhawks organization. I'm glad that change has come around, and they've started fresh from the top. And like you, yeah, I would not. I'm actually wearing my Blackhawks hat today, but I put all that stuff in a corner. I'm like, I'm not going to wear this for a while. I can't be associated with an organization that does that until they clean house and they go the right way. I love hockey. I'm not that big of a puckhead, but I love playing floor hockey. I played floor hockey as a kid, and I would like watching the Blackhawks, especially after seeing them win 3 championships. So I enjoy the sport, but like you said, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth when your home team does something so gnarly and so disgusting, and they knew about it for a long time and didn't do anything about it. So let's move on to another story, brother.
Yeah, let's do that. So for the Chicago Bulls, I think we both agree that the biggest story in 2021 for the Chicago Bulls was the Bulls finally fired bum-ass Gar Forman. Okay, Gar Pax is no longer, they bumped John Paxson up to the senior advisor of basketball operation. Forman had somehow been the GM since 2009, and he was with the franchise for 22 seasons. They brought in Arturas Karnisovas. They brought in Mark Eversley. They brought in Lonzo Ball. They brought in DeMar DeRozan. They brought in all these new players. They basically, I think the only guys that were left were Kobe White, Pat Williams, Zach LaVine, and Gucci Mane. That was the only 4 that actually they had going into this year. They cleaned house. They brought in a whole new team, and they revamped this roster, and I couldn't be more excited. This is the most excited I've been to watch Bulls basketball since the Derrick Rose era.
I completely agree with you. This is something that I've been looking forward for 10 years. Ever since, the Derrick Rose teams where they were competing and going to, first and second rounds. That's when I was into Bulls basketball. Even though I was working there, I was super into Bulls basketball because I've gone in waves where I just distance myself from basketball because sometimes it's unwatchable to watch. I'm not Mike Logic. I don't watch random NBA games as much as he does, and he needs to spit out stats and stuff like that. But now that we have a new regime here and they've turned the team around within a couple seasons, it's exciting to watch this team and see what they do. They've drafted Ayo and they're like, oh, he fell on our lap. Hey, let's take this kid. And he's been producing. Kobe's coming back from his injury, and he's pretty good. Zach and DeMar DeRozan are just putting all-star numbers up there, and hopefully they both get to make it. Vucevic has come back after the COVID incident and actually been putting up doubles. The team has been producing, even though with all this COVID outbreak, with you have one cog out, this other cog gets put in by the coach, Donovan, and guess what? The machine keeps rolling and keeps winning.
Yeah, I mean, this has been, like I said, the most exciting basketball that we've watched the Bulls play since the Derrick Rose era, when they were really going head-to-head and toe-to-toe with LeBron when he was on the Cavs, and really when he was on the Miami Heat. So, I mean, look, this is a very refreshing, rejuvenating way to look at sports, especially with the biggest story with the Chicago Bears. Seeing that we have something to look forward to, because the Bears' biggest story is the drafting of Justin Fields. The fact that no one in the world in their right mind, after the whole blunder with Trubisky, and not just the fact that they drafted him and that they moved up to draft him from 3 to 2, okay, but the signing of Mike Glennon, the thing they did with Nick Foles, the way that they kind of screwed over Trubisky in his last season, and even though he was coming back at the end of games after having a hard time in the beginning, they just ripped him out of there in a panic move, and they brought in Nick Foles, and that was a disaster, and he walked around like he had cement shoes on. And they bring back Trubisky, and he proved himself at the end of the season. I mean, he really did. I think they really, really just botched the whole Trubisky thing from the start to finish, because the way he was starting to look when he was actually seemed to be grasping some of it, at that point, Bears fans were so jaded. So the biggest story for the Chicago Bears this year absolutely has to be the drafting of Justin Fields. What do you say?
I agree that the biggest story is Justin Fields. We have a quarterback in place that is going to be our future. Now, the only thing is that, like you said, that the Trubisky thing was botched. It was botched by both the GM and the head coach, which we know should be gone by this. Now, I was hoping that the Bears would have lost today, so that way they could have called his name today and said, hey, he's got to go. In my opinion, he's got to go, so that way they can have the extra 2 weeks to vet a new coach. You don't think so? You don't think that he's going to be gone?
Okay, I don't know if Pace is going to be gone. There's a lot of discussion, because I think with Pace, there's a good chance that he might get bumped up higher up in because I think Pace, as he's gone along, he's done a much better job of evaluating talent and figuring out what he wants to do, and regardless of the bad moves that we saw early on, which is Trubisky, which is, you can throw Kevin White in there if you want to, which I kind of don't, because you can't control injuries. Anthony Miller kept getting injured, and then he had a bad attitude because he kept getting injured. But they brought in Allen Robinson, and they got rid of Jordan Howard, who was not that good. I don't know, people still to this day, they should have kept Jordan. No, they should have not. Jordan Howard is not a good player. I'm sorry to tell you that. He's just not. He was fine for the 1 year, and everyone drooled down their pants, and it was like, oh my God, he's not that good. That's why he kind of bounced around the league. I think he finally made it back with the Eagles, but he was not that good of a player. So he drafted Montgomery. He drafted Tariq Cohen. He brought in Khalil Mack and gave away picks for them. Okay. He drafted Mooney, which I think we both really like. He drafted Khalil Herbert. He drafted Tariq Cohen. So there was he brought in Robert Quinn. He brought in Hakeem Hicks. He drafted Roquan Smith, who I think is going to be a fantastic player. He's going to be another one of these legacy linebackers for the Chicago Bears. So there are good and bad things that he has done. So I think that, if anything, they might bump him up into more of a higher front office role, as an advisory role, because I think he does have some value as far as what he can do with the franchise. Now, when we look at a guy like Matt Nagy, I think we know that his time is done. Everything that's gone on this year, it just hasn't gone the way that we expected it to. At the end of last year, I said that they can either keep Nagy or Trubisky. You cannot keep both. They made their bed. That's where they're sleeping in. And I think Nagy knows that he's gone after this season. Okay. Now, here's the problem. Today, Justin Fields didn't play. I think we know he's going to be the future of the franchise, but guess what? Today, because of an injury to his ankle and because Andy Dalton was out with COVID, there was some foles in this house.
So it's time to put some foles in this house.
There's some
foles
in this house. There's some
foles
in this house. There's some
foles in this house.
There's some foles in this house.
That's what they did.
And somehow the Bears done messed around and won a game, and now we got to talk about it. Okay, I mean, man, come on. Let me tell you something. I had my graphic all ready to go with a little sad picture of Nick Foles, and it was all clean and nice and everything like that. And then they messed around and went and won a damn game. So, look, man, what did you think about that Bears win today?
I mean, I've actually watched the game, and I had it on the small TV at first, and then it got interesting, so I moved it over to the big TV and put the NFL package, Red Zone, on the small TV. It was an entertaining game. It was frustrating at some points. Them not being able to run the ball at certain points. The passing, he was dinking and dunking, but a lot of these catches weren't being made by certain receivers. That they won the game, I think they just put a rabbit out of their hat. You had two amazing catches in the end zone to go ahead. But also, Seattle's not that great of a team. Look at they have the same record as the Bears. So, do they have more talent? Probably. I don't know. I mean, they have a better quarterback than us right now. That's what they do have. They have a better receiver than Metcalf than we do. Their running game is just similar to ours. I think we ranked number 8 in the league in running, but our passing offensive rank is 29th. So we're towards the bottom of the league. So we were scoring 15, 17 points a game. We got to 25. I mean, if you play a great team, 25 points is not going to win a game for you. Now, if you look at the stats for today, I mean, you got Nick Foles, who went 24 for 35 for 250 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that I think what we saw in this game was kind of what you expect. It's funny enough for all of the quarterbacks to win on the Chicago Bears, it had to be Nick Foles, right? I mean, we look at, and I think when we look at what Justin Fields has been doing in the last couple of weeks, he's been improving quite a bit. He's still kind of making rookie mistakes, like I talked about before, is that when he does slide, he slides with his heads up. He does this jump pass. But I would say in that Monday night game against the Packers, he was very competitive, and he looked good against the Vikings as well. And it's just at the end of the game, those mistakes are just they can't overcome the mistakes. This game here, the funny thing is I'm watching this game and I'm looking at their record and I'm thinking about the fact that Russell Wilson had a broken finger and he came back about in half the time that they expected him to come back. For what reason? I don't know, because they haven't been doing nothing the whole season. But I think about the fact that before the Bears drafted Justin Fields, do you remember all this shit about they need to go get Russell Wilson? They need to go get this guy because he's this and he's that and he's this and this. And they sucked all year. They are 4th place in the NFC West. You're looking at teams like San Francisco. You're looking at how good the Rams and the Cardinals look. And I don't think anyone expected the Cardinals to be that good, but they're that good, especially since they added a former Steeler, James Conner, down there. So even though, look, the Cardinals have won, I think they lost the last 3 games, but irregardless.
There we go.
There it is. I think that it was interesting to kind of see what Russell Wilson is doing right now, considering the fact that Bears fans were drooling all over themselves to get him. I think when we look at this game right here, like you said, Nick Foles did not have a bad game. He had no interceptions, 24 for 35, 250 yards. Montgomery with 21 carries and only 45 yards was a little interesting, but he had a touchdown. Khalil Herbert had a touchdown. David Montgomery, funny enough, he actually led the team in receiving. He had 7 receptions and 61 yards. So he did top 100 yards in all-around, all-purpose yards, but it was kind of interesting in a game where for some reason it's snowing in Seattle. You would think that their ground game would be a much more aggressive. Now you look at what the Seahawks did on the ground. Rashard Penny had 17 carries for 135 yards. Russell Wilson was not good, 16 for 27, 181 yards. He did have 2 touchdowns. But I mean, you look down the list, Gerald Everett, their tight end, had, was leading in receptions, 4 receptions for 68 yards and a touchdown. DK Metcalf, again, only 2 receptions. Tyler Lockett, only 3 receptions, and so on and so forth. So it was an impressive win by a Bears team who shut the Seahawks out in the fourth quarter, got their touchdown. They got their field goal, and then they came back and got their touchdown. And guess what? In typical Bears fashion, they went for 2, and they got it. And we're actually seeing that quite a bit this season, where teams are going for it on 4th down. And I don't know if that's a trend because they're worried about the extra point or missing field goals or whatever it is, but it is definitely interesting.
It's definitely interesting. Now, to your point of the 4th down thing, I think that they felt like the defense can hold Russell Wilson, and they were able to hold Russell Wilson when they went for 4th down and they turned the ball over. They were able to hold him down and get a 3 and out and be able to get that punt away. Now, if you're looking at the offensive comparison, it's pretty much hand in hand between our offense and their offense when you look at the receiving and the running. What it looks like to me is that the Seattle Seahawks don't like to play in the snow. And then also you have a guy in Russell Wilson who had a broken finger, had it operated on, came back in half the time, and it's cold. And me and you have broken bones and different surgeries, and when it's cold outside, we don't function very well. We need that WD-40.
Give me a hell yeah!
That's usually how we do it. But yeah, I mean, look, rundown. The Bears, surprisingly enough, had 26 first downs in this game. They were 50% 3rd down efficiency, and their 4th down efficiency was 1 for 3 because they went for it a couple times. But yeah, I mean, look, they also allowed 4 sacks, and that's just because, like I said again, Nick Foles walks and runs like he has cement shoes, like in the Jerky Boys when they hit the mom's feet in the detergent boxes with the cement. That's exactly how he runs. It is terrifying. But the Bears actually dominated the time of possession, 38 minutes and 25 seconds. So good for the Bears. You got to win. Enjoy Club Dub. Merry Christmas. It's the Christmas miracle. You scored 25 points the day after Christmas. Good for you. It doesn't matter. I guess if anything, it's a moral victory. But who is it a moral victory for? Because we saw Justin Fields sitting on the sideline looking at Nick Foles like, this mother, just sitting there, took all the work you could see the wheels turning in his head, because every time he started to have a complete thought, his brain went the other direction, just like when Ditka talks. Yeah, that's what he looked like, and it was funny as hell to see him sitting on the bench giving Nick Foles a dirty look.
It's just gonna light a fire under Fields' ass. It's just gonna light him up. It really is, because he knows he's better than both of those quarterbacks that are on the roster, and it's just simple as that. Where you say, where's the moral victory? The moral victory is for those 3rd, 4th, and 5th string guys that are in the secondary that have been playing their ass off. There's that moral victory. For the Robert Quinn, who's about to break that sack record, there's your moral victory. You have things that you can build on for next year, and that's exactly what you're doing now, especially with this aging defense. You're going to have to evaluate who's going to stay and who's going to go. And these guys who are showing out because of the COVID protocol, or guys that are injured that are not playing, you're seeing, okay, some of these guys might be a talent that we can actually plug in, maybe not starting, but maybe on the second team that can, sub in and out, and you won't have that big of a drop off.
Well, one of the names that got mentioned a lot this week after that Monday night game was Thomas Graham, because the entire secondary had COVID going into that Vikings game. So they had Thomas Graham, who I want to say was a 6th-round pick in this year's draft. He had to come in because he was on the practice squad. We also saw Daz Newsome finally make his NFL debut, and Thomas Graham has been playing out of his mind. So everyone's like, well, you're once again, you're a terrible evaluator of talent. Here's the thing. You have established veterans at the beginning of the season, okay, guys that you're paying a lot of money to, and there is a very distinct possibility that by the time week 15 came around, this guy was on the practice squad long enough and around NFL players long enough to figure it out and to learn from that. So it's not like he just turned on a switch, because I promise you that there is no NFL team that if he was playing that well would not plug him in. No NFL team has sat there and says, well, I'm paying this guy a lot of money. He's not as good as this kid. I should keep him. No, No, because they signed Desmond Trufant. They signed all these guys in the past, and they let them go because they weren't doing as well. So now we've come to the point where we are once again going to look at possible Matt Nagy replacements. This is part 2, and we're going to look at the current Ohio State head coach, Ryan Day. He took over for Urban Meyer after once again an Urban Meyer scandal, after he found out that I think one of his coordinators or his coaches was abusing his wife, and he didn't say anything about that. So again, Urban Meyer, piece of shit, don't want to hear from you anymore, go on. So yeah, Ryan Day, young man, 42 years old. He coached Fields, and he went to the college football championship a couple years ago when they lost to Alabama. Now there's a lot of noise out there about a former Bear, and that is Trace Armstrong. Trace Armstrong is currently a very, very highly regarded agent for coaches. If I'm not mistaken, he is both Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace's agent. So yeah, I mean, he's very well known within the Bears. He played for the Bears in the mid 90s and the late 80s, 89 to 94, I believe. And a lot of people know about him, and he would be considered to take over like a president of football operations role, so we can get some of these knuckleheads out of there. Looking at a guy like Ted Phillips, who's been there about 20 years too long, and that's his whole 20-year career. But yeah, Trace Armstrong has been talked about quite a bit on the radio and online and stuff like that, and it sounds like his choice would be Ryan Day. So what do you think about the Bears possibly looking into bringing in Ryan Day to replace Matt Nagy?
I mean, he's proven winner, right? It's Ohio State. They've been there year after year competitively in the Big Ten, and he coached the quarterback that is your franchise quarterback. So you have familiarity. So he understands what he can and cannot do. He understands where his faults are, and he can improve on them. I think it'll be easy transition. But there's been a lot of head coaches that come from college and then go to the NFL and don't succeed right away because it is a different ball game. But then there's those anomalies that you have, like in Arizona, the coach from Arizona who came from a couple of small colleges that moved up, and now on year 2 they're kicking ass over there in Arizona. So you have that aspect of it as well. So, and then the coach from Seattle, he was a college coach as well for a long period of time. I know he was an NFL coach prior to that, but you guys transitioning from up and down on the college and NFL ranks. I think it'll be easy transition. I would prefer if when he came up, he would have a veteran coaching staff that would come along with him.
So you're talking about Cliff Kingsbury, who famously was the Texas Tech head coach, and while he was still the college head coach, he said that if I was the coach of the Cardinals, I would draft Kyler Murray. So what did the Cardinals do? They took this kid who was 39 or 38 years old at the time, made him their head coach, even though that was his first head coaching gig. And what did he do? He drafted Kyler Murray, and now a couple years later, they're having success. So you look at Ryan Day again. He is the same age. He's only 42. He's only been the head coach from 2019 or 2018. Okay, he was the acting head coach, and then they made him the permanent head coach after the whole thing with Urban Meyer. It's gonna be. It's a very interesting name, and that's the thing, is that there's just a lot of fans out there clamoring for this guy, young guy. You're not wrong when you say that. I think that the way for a guy like this to be able to have the best success in the NFL is to make sure that your coaching staff is established. We look at if there's a possibility that a guy like Vic Fangio gets fired from the Broncos, bring him back to the Chicago Bears. Leslie Frazier is another name that we're going to talk about at some point, that there is possibility of him coming over. I've even heard Ron Rivera out there. So, I mean, there's a lot of different names that are being mentioned out there. And I think the main way for a young guy like this, who doesn't have a ton of coaching experience as a head coach, is to have a lot of established veterans around you. Now, the problem with that is you look at the current Bears coaching staff, and there is a ton of former head coaches on there. You got John DeFilippo on that team, and I don't think he ever made it as a I don't know. Was he a head coach of the Eagles, or was that it was just he interviewed a lot of times? But you had him. You just have you're flush with former NFL head coaches on this team, and is that helping you? So what does that mean? What does that mean? A lot of people are saying that they want someone with experience. Well, I still believe that somewhere down the road, someone's going to give Matt Nagy a chance to be a head coach as long as he gets his head out of his ass, because you take what you learn and you move on. It's just like you said with Pete Carroll and the Seahawks. You look at Bill Belichick. There's a lot of these guys that don't fail, that don't succeed in their first go round, and their second time around they do pretty well. So, and to be fair, Pete Carroll came back to the NFL after the USC scandal, and they're like, "Hey, I have a spot," and here we go. So I mean that was a whole different thing, but. Ryan Day, I'd give him a chance. Now, one name that we've heard a lot about this week, and it's not a head coaching candidate, it's a GM candidate, and it's Louis Riddick. Louis Riddick, who goes on the Waddle and Sylvie show once a week, and he is one of the hosts of the Monday Night Football. He was around and he's been talking for years, and when you listen to him talk, he sounds like he'd be a fantastic GM, and I know a lot of Bears fans are clamoring for him. When he was asked if he would take the GM role for the Chicago Bears, he goes, "Of course, it's the Chicago Bears. That's why we love the Bears, is because it has that cachet, it has that name. It's like the Cubs and the White. It's just these old school teams that people have, even just the name has some respect. It's a charter franchise of the NFL. So knowing what you know about Lou Riddick, would you want him to GM the Chicago Bears?"
You know what? Looking at Lou Riddick, he's been talking for years, like you said. He's been going on the radio and he's been saying what I would do. But my question is, why hasn't anyone else hired him to be a GM? That's my red flag number one. Anybody we can talk about anything we want. We can say we're experts about this, and we've been right about a couple things. The sun does shine on the dog's ass once a day, right? So what I'm saying is, if he's such a genius, why hasn't any other team called him to interview for a job? I have not heard any team interview him for a job. Does he sound smart? Yeah. Does he make a lot of sense? Yeah. Does he have a lot of connections in the NFL? Yeah. Could he be successful? Well, it's a 50-50 chance, right? We don't know what he's able to do. He doesn't have a proven record. That's where I would rather go with a proven commodity, especially at that higher level, and take my chance with a Ryan Day, who has experience with young players and experience with the young quarterback.
Ryan Day would be as a coach.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm talking about for GM.
Well, for GM, that's what I'm saying. For GM, I would rather go with a proven commodity and then replace the coach that
Ryan Day is not a proven commodity. Ryan Day has been a head coach for 2 years. He's not a proven commodity.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'll take my GM as a proven commodity, and I'll take my chances with a hot coach coming up in Ryan Day.
So would you keep pace over bringing in a guy like Louis Riddick? As GM, not as an advisor or a higher front office role, as a GM.
Right now, if you look at Ryan Pace's record, even though we've been ripping him here left and right, if you look at his track record, he's had more wins than losses when it comes to drafting and signing players. We were giving him shit for Robert Quinn last year, and look at Robert Quinn now. We were, upset that he was gambling on Mitch Trubisky, and he gambled, but he also gambled on Justin Fields. So he's an aggressive GM, and he's going to go out there and make the best deal possible. The thing is that the Bears are more magnified than any other team because the entire city is a Bears fan. And if you're in Chicago and you're a Green Bay Packer fan, well, fuck you. We're all about the Bears here. Simple as that. We're a Bears town. No matter if you're a White Sox fan or a Cub fan or a Blackhawk fan, everyone cheers for the Bears, even when they suck. So anything that's done is magnified times 1,000 because everyone locks in on the Bears. So I would probably gonna stay with Ryan Pace and go after Ryan Day. The Ryan and Ryan connection.
So I'm gonna tell you, there's quite a few teams that have been linked to Riddick, but I think for the same reason, the same thing that you're saying right now is that they've been scared away. Okay, I'm just looking at a couple articles, just by Googling his name. At one point, he was linked to the Giants, where he went and he interviewed with them. The 49ers, the Texans, who else? The Lions. There is a lot of teams, the Falcons. There's a lot of teams that have drafted him and that have been interested in bringing him in. The Jaguars are another team. But you're not wrong. How come he hasn't gotten a job? And I'm wondering if he is the type of dude that goes in there and doesn't say what they want him to say. And that's a problem. Not for him, for the NFL. Because if you got a guy that wants to go in there and shake things up, and I don't want to play the race card, but I'm gonna tell you what, if it was a white guy that wants to go in there and shake some shit up, guess what? They're more likely to hire him than a young black man who says, you know what, the way that you do things is terrible. We need to shake this shit up, and this is the guy that I want. So I think that if the Bears do interview Riddick for the GM job, he needs to come in there and he needs to tell them who his top 3 candidates for the head coaching position are. Tell him who he would bring in for and just you have to go all the way down the line, and you have to start with a new president of football operations, because Ted Phillips is long overdue to be booted out of that seat. People are saying, well, you got to change the ownership. No, they're never going to sell the team. They're never going to sell the team. But if you had a guy like Trace Armstrong, who is a very smart businessman, a financial advisor, knows all of these coaches personally, okay? You get him in place. Get someone like him that can broker you a great deal for a stadium in Arlington, okay, in Arlington Heights. This is where you really need to be going. Trace Armstrong, Lou Riddick, and I'm going to go with a different coach. I'm not going with Ryan Day. I'm going with Josh McDaniels. I think right there, because you get 3 younger, dynamic guys, because I want to say Trace Armstrong is maybe in his 50s or 60s. He's not that old. Lou Riddick is maybe late 40s. I don't know exactly how old it is. And Josh McDaniels is 45 years old. That would be my dream team right there. 1, 2, 3, bam, bam, bam. The Bears need to start thinking like the Chicago Bulls. You had Paxson and Garr, who have been there for 20 plus years. You got Phillips, who's been there for 20 plus years. Get rid of him. Clean house. You're going to bring in consultants to look for your next GM or look for your next head coach or whatever you're going to do. Do it proper. Look at these candidates that are out there. Erase the narrative that you're scared of having a strong black men in your organization, the way that for years they talked about the Bears wouldn't draft a black quarterback. Erase that altogether and put this guy in charge. That's what I say. That's how I'm going to end the year talking about the Bears.
All right, I like it. And just to put a bow on it, it is time to take the Bears into the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd century. Let's stop using pen and paper. Let's get out the iPads, and let's move into the technology era. Let's stop doing stuff the way we used to do it, because guess what? It hasn't worked in over 30 years. You have not won a Super Bowl in over 30 years. It's as simple as that. You have to look at what the Cubs did. They cleaned house. They updated their system. They put the Ivy or whatever it's called, the system they put in there to evaluate players. You brought in the best GM on the market. You put him in place. He changed the way the Cubs did everything from top to bottom. They changed the way they look at players, the way they spend on players, the facilities. They've changed everything. Then you look at what the Bulls did. It took us a while for us to say, fire Gar Pax. And not until it was All-Star weekend, we didn't have an All-Star on the team playing in our home court. And you had all the fans on, First Take and every ESPN show that was at the United Center, and all the fans yelling, fire Gar Pax. Then they made the change. Then during that time is when they evaluated and talked to different GMs. That's when they did it, and then they made the change. The Bears are in the same boat. They're on their way of making that change. Will they do it? They have to do it. They have to do it. When they have to go into, they're going to go into a whole new stadium. You do not want to go in with this old regime that does things the old way, the old broken way. Find yourself a good GM. Find yourself a good operations manager like you just talked about. I think that's a great idea to have Trace Armstrong, who's 56. He's actually fairly young. That's a great person to put up in that situation and say, hey, your job is to take care of the stadium and make sure we can make as much money as possible. That is your job. Your job is also to be like, all right, hire that GM. You're going to be hiring the GM, and then from there, you delegate what the responsibilities are, and you detail that shit to the minute, because you don't want shit falling through the damn cracks. That's what I got to say.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're on the same page. You have it in place to build a new stadium, and whether Sox fans want to admit it or not, you guys follow the Cubs blueprint. There's a lot of teams that are doing that now. The Astros did the same thing. Okay, you follow that blueprint. You want to make a new stadium, make a new stadium. Stop fucking around with old ass Soldier Field. Stop playing with that place. It's done. I love it as much as the next person as far as the history is concerned. You can build a museum, whatever you want to do. You have all this space. Build the Bears Museum out there. You are the charter franchise of the NFL. Make it a destination. Okay? Bring in a guy that can broker a fantastic deal and figure out a way. Because look, we just had, was it 2 weeks ago, all of the casinos and all the proposals come out talking about how they're going to do the sports books in the city of Chicago, how they're going to have all the sports books at all of the major stadiums, build a whole ass casino in Arlington Heights on the Bears facility, because that right there, you cannot have, you're going to use the actual stadium for football 8 games, 8 days, plus your 2 preseason or 1, whatever the hell they changed it to. That's the only actual NFL games you're going to have there, unless for some reason they bring in another team to share the stadium or whatever it is. Okay. You have to find a way. If you put, at least just like they did in SoFi, you either make it a dome or you make it a semi-enclosed. I think for this weather, you have to make it a dome. But you have an indoor facility that you can host the NCAA tournament, that you can host the Super Bowl, that you can host the NFL or the college football playoffs. Okay, make this a destination, because once you build your hotel, once you build your casino, you're in the money right there. Why do you think the Raiders went to Vegas over anywhere else? Why do you think the Raiders went to Las Vegas, the gambling capital of the world, than anywhere else? All the hotels, all the casinos, all the sports books, everywhere, everything right there at your fingertips. It's already becoming legal here. You're going to have sports books in the stadiums. They're already going through with it, where the aldermen are saying that they don't want it because how is it going to benefit minorities and so on. That all needs to be worked out. But you have a perfect opportunity to turn the charter franchise of the NFL into something special again. Get with the times. 2021 is over. Erase all that shit. You got your brand new franchise quarterback. Make it happen, Bears. That's it.
Well said. Well said, Eddie. All right, fans, we'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
We all know that 2020 was no joke, and with an ever-changing world climate, many people are looking for a new opportunity. Guys, are you looking for a career that rewards effort and makes you feel valued as a team member? Let me tell you a little about our friends at ACSI. ACSI is a certified RCN business agent. They provide the same RCN services with a personalized touch. Their sales and technician teams work hand in hand, ensuring your experience will be smooth and pleasant. Gone are the days of being transferred from one person to the next. At ACSI, they handle everything from start to finish. It's never been so easy to get internet service. ACSI is a growing Chicagoland company that encourages personal growth and rewards perseverance. As they expand, they're looking for passionate, responsible, and honest professionals to join their team. A career with ACSI means you will be part of a hardworking, flexible, and dynamic team that is a leader in the installation of cable and internet services in the Chicagoland area. Best of all, ACSI was awarded Hacia's 2020 Contractor of the Year Award. Are you ready to grow with a local Chicago company on the rise? Check out acsi.tech and click on career.
Welcome back to the True Chicago Sports Fans Podcast with E-Rock and Big Z.
Oh, yeah.
It's that time again, brother.
Uh-oh.
You know what time it is.
Oh boy.
It's time for Stirring the Pot. All right, brother, what do you got for us this week?
All right. So like I said, this is the last show of 2021. Next time we talk to you guys, it'll be 2022. That's how years work. So my question for you, sir, yes or no, do you make New Year's resolutions?
No, I don't make New Year's resolutions. No way in hell, because they're always broken. Everyone makes the resolution of making better health choices as far as eating and exercising and all that. And then 2 weeks later, everyone's back to their old habits. I try to do small steps. I don't make a resolution. I make small steps like, to stop eating chips or stop drinking pop, which is something I'm going to try to do. Try to cut out the sugar. I make small steps. I don't make a big resolution like I'm gonna do this or that. I usually, what I try to do at the beginning of the year is map out what I want to do, my goals and so forth, but it's never a resolution, because there's no way you can change your entire life by saying I'm gonna do something. You gotta have a plan behind it. What about you?
Those things that you mentioned, those are resolutions. You can call them whatever you want, but they're not. Those are resolutions. You say, I set goals for myself for the next year. That's a fucking resolution, man. That's literally how it works. That's exactly the definition of a resolution. So you, sir, are in favor of resolutions. I, on the other hand, am not, because I am the best and I'm correct. No, look, you're right when you talk about the fact that you need to, if you want to make the change in your life, it does start. You have to start small. You have to have a small step. But I mean, I don't ever set goals, quote unquote, for myself. I just kind of like think about it, and I gradually try to move in that direction. Like one of the biggest things that my wife and I have both done in the past year is try to cut out a lot of the carbs. We did a kickstart with when we were doing keto, and then from there, if I do get a pop, it's a diet pop or a zero sugar. Just drinking just an absolute ton of water. Get the creamer for the coffee that's sweetened with no sugar, not putting sugar in the coffee. A lot of stuff like that. Like, when the holidays come, I'm definitely stuffing cookies in my face and eating mac and cheese. But a lot of the meals that we eat during the week is carb free. So we'll have meat with vegetables, and that's what we'll have. Or we'll make a sauce with Brussels sprouts and green peppers and like meatballs and stuff like that. So we're removing a lot of the pasta, very little rice. We used to eat rice, Caribbean families eat rice like by the truckful, and that's just how it goes. Pasta, I couldn't even tell you the last time we made like a baked ziti. We used to make that all the time, especially early pandemic when you're just making these giant meals. So yeah, I mean, we don't do resolutions, but it's like, okay, what it is we buy things in the house we're like, okay, well, we better use that thing. One thing that we were doing, we got a small waffle maker where we're making waffles out of eggs. You have an egg sandwich with that, your sandwich with the slice of cheese and stuff like that. So really, it's just kind of like those little lifestyle changes that you kind of keep going as you go. The only thing that sucks is that now I got a bunch of clothes that are too big for me, so I got to like pull my belt, and which is all well and good, but what the hell am I supposed to do with all these big ass pants I got now?
I have no idea what you're gonna do with your big old pants. They might come back in style when with your hammer pants and all that. Just keep those back in the closet, man. Keep them in the closet. No, I agree with you. It's hard to make those resolutions. I don't like to think resolutions because that has a negative connotation because they're always broken. So like I said, they've got to be small things, small changes, and then you build a habit after 21 days. So if you're consistent for 21 days, it becomes a habit and it becomes a way of a lifestyle, and it's something that you'll continue to do. I've done it where I've gone to the gym and I've gone for a long period of time, and when I don't go to the gym, I would miss it. Like right now, I haven't been to the gym, and it just started with me substituting the gym with going to rehab for my hip. So I stopped going to the gym because I'm going to rehab. I'm going to physical therapy, and they kick my ass anyway. So I'm not going to go to the gym, and that's where it started. Also, that the indoor pools are closed at the park district was another issue because I was going there to swim, and I wasn't able to do that anymore. So it's really about getting your ass up and making these small changes so that way you can better your lifestyle.
Yeah, and there's we're getting to the point where you and I have both had physical issues with hips and joints and things like that. And, we ain't getting any younger. So that I think that's a big part of it. Just trying to, whatever extra weight that you have, try to get rid of them extra pounds so your joints work better. Because I'm telling you right now, man, my knee don't like me. And even though even in the leg with the artificial hip, it feels weird sometimes where I'm sitting there. And I mean, I can walk, which is great. But I mean, like even right now, I'm sitting in my chair talking into the mic, and my leg kind of feels funny. I can feel I'm gonna tell you what, it's weird because I can feel that implant in my leg right there. Now we're talking about fake body parts and all that stuff. Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Before we go, what you looking at? What are you watching that isn't sports?
All right, so I'm going to start off with one of your recommendations from last week, which was 8-Bit Christmas. I put that on during the week, because you got to watch your Christmas movies, get into the mood. And it was one of my favorite movies that I'm going to put up there now because it had a bunch of nostalgia. It's based on the Nintendo Entertainment Center, which is something that if you're above 35, you completely understand how hard it was to get, or when someone had it, everyone congregated to that person's house to play the Super Mario and the Zelda and the Tecmo Bowl and the Bases Loaded. So you played all those games. Oh, Double Dribble. Gotta play Double Dribble. Those were games that there were staples to play. So that was my childhood, is playing Nintendo and being able to flip a game and then brag about it the next day at school. So doing all those things and seeing that movie, I had a lot of nostalgia. Plus it was based in Chicago, or the Chicago area, so that's also. And then you had Neil Patrick Harris, who's a really good actor. It was a great movie. It made me laugh. There was some sentimental parts in there as well, but it was a great movie all around.
Yeah, so I mean, that was one where I really did not give it a chance. That my first watching, I watched the first part of it. If anyone that's seen it, you already know. I mean, it's been out for a while, so I don't want to spoil it, but it's whatever. Where the rich kid, once that part kind of turned me off, I was like, I'm tired. I'm gonna let my eyes keep rusting, and the rest of the movie watched me. And then I went back and Pablo at work, he was like, no, you got to watch it. So I think I talked about it last week. So I went back and watched the rest of it, and we actually watched it on Christmas Eve. We watched it again, just put it on while we were kind of doing other stuff there. So yeah, I'm with you. And you forgot to mention Mike Tyson Punch Out, man. Mike Tyson, or even the Punch Out before they added Mike Tyson, that was the shit right there. And that to this day, that is one of the hardest games. Yeah, it is one of the hardest games. It is also a big staple.
Another movie that I did watch is something that just came out this week. It's called The Matrix. It's the new Matrix movie that came out. It's on HBO Now, Go, whatever they call it nowadays. I watched it, and I did not like it just because it was pretty much just a love story. But I'm going to give it another chance, just like you gave 8-Bit Christmas another chance. The issue was that I think maybe I didn't like it because I watched it at work on my cell phone, which is 11 inches or whatever it is, the little screen. And I transitioned to the iPad. But I think just, maybe watching it with the surround sound, maybe paying more attention to the details, maybe I'll like it even more. But I wasn't a fan of it. I mean, it was a simple story. Neo comes back and tries to save Trinity, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's on my list. I heard a lot of people kind of on Facebook bashing it, but I mean, that's pretty much, it doesn't matter what movie or what music, whatever it is comes out, people got something to say. So it's whatever. I'll watch it at some point. One thing I got to do is I got to go back and watch the originals first so I can get a refresher, because I remember the first one very distinctively, Mr. Anderson, that guy, and all the weird stuff about dodging the bullets and all that crap. I can't remember the other two. I really don't, not in detail like the first one. And I feel like it's almost like the Star Wars trilogy, where I've seen A New Hope about 1,000 times, and then I've seen Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back like significantly less times. And it's just because when it used to come on like USA Network, and they would just show it over and over again. So I mean, I got to go back and finish or rewatch the old one so I can kind of get a little refresher. But yeah, man, I watched a couple of movies which actually got me in trouble for watching them without my wife. But because she always wants to watch TV shows, and I'm like, I don't want to. I have no interest in watching TV shows, because like I said before, when I watch a movie, when it's over, I'm done. I already know what happened at the end. And I feel like I start watching these shows and I'm like, could you just tell me already? Like, I'm so it's like, hey, guess what's gonna happen? Hey, no, guess. And I'm like, no, just fucking tell me already. Anyway, so the 2 movies that I watched, 3 actually, I'm gonna mention. I did watch King Richard. I watched most of King Richard. I watched King Richard until I fell asleep because that is a long ass movie. I put it on with my daughter. I watched the most of it, but I did fall asleep at the end, and it was on December 19th. And the only reason I remember that is because HBO says this movie will no longer be on HBO after December 19th. So I don't have the chance to watch that again until it comes back around. So what I saw of it was very good and very interesting. The 2 movies that I did get to finish were brand new this week. Number 1 was The Unforgivable with Sandra Bullock. If you've seen the previews for this, you know, it's where she's walking into the place where they're sorting out fish. Everything is dangerous. Everything can kill you. And you're like, okay, that doesn't give me a gist of what's going on here whatsoever. But once you actually watch the movie, holy crap. Lots of twists and turns in this one. And I definitely recommend that one, especially for you know, and anyone with a family, man. Like it gives you a vibe of something that you definitely, I don't, you know, there's so much stuff going on in this one. I'm gonna give the rest of y'all a chance to watch this before I start talking about it in detail.
Anything else you watched this week, man?
Yeah, so this morning,
oh boy,
I watched another movie that just came out, and this I 100% recommend even more than the other movie. This movie is Don't Look Up. There are so many people in this movie. You had Leonardo DiCaprio, you had Jennifer Lawrence, you had Seth, was it no, what the hell is this? What's his name? Not Seth Rogen. What is his name? Jonah Hill, that guy. Yeah, so Jonah Hill was in it. Timothy Chalamet, Meryl Streep, Chris Evans, Ariana Grande. I mean, it was just a ton of people in this movie. Man, if you want to know what the state of America is like right now in this present day, watch that movie. There was other movies where it kind of gave me the same vibe, especially at the end. There's a Steve Carell movie called Looking for a Friend for the End of the World. There's a little bit of vibe of that in there too. But yeah, absolutely. I 100% recommend that. And yeah, yeah. It's the state of America in a nutshell. That's what I got to say about that.
That sounds good. I'll put those on for the week. All right. You can do this year. It's almost over or no?
Yeah, we got it. Yeah, I'll pop those in there real quick.
Okay. All right.
Before we
go ahead. No, go ahead. I was gonna say.
Yeah,
1, 2, 3, go.
All right. Before we get out of here, let's talk about a couple of just a couple right here. Some of the biggest stories in sports this year. Earlier this year, Tiger Woods had that crazy car accident where I mean, his car went all the way down. I thought he was done, man.
Yeah, I really thought that he was really, really hurt and was not going to be able to walk. When you heard what happened to his leg, it was fractured in multiple locations. And right now he's been golfing with his son. So, you know, thank God that he's okay. Yeah, that's one of the ones that's scary, especially after the Kobe accident.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And I think that's exactly the vibes that we got. I think this was in like February where this happened. So that was exactly the vibes that we got when that happened. Another big story was MLB took the All-Star game away from Georgia after all the voting rights scandal that they had. And they actually sent them off to go play that All-Star game in Colorado. That was very interesting and a very political move for MLB.
Yeah, and I think it's the right move. You don't want to be associated with stuff like that. I think the NBA did the same thing in Charlotte. Charlotte was supposed to have the NBA All-Star game and moved it as well. Or was it in Atlanta or something like that? It might have been Atlanta as well. I think they were supposed to have it in Atlanta and got moved to Charlotte. That's what it was. I don't know. You can correct me if I'm wrong, people. So, yeah, you don't want to do that, people. Come on. If people want to vote, let them vote. Stop restricting people from their First Amendment right.
Yeah, I mean, look, good for the MLB for speaking up. And hey, I mean, equal rights are equal for everyone. That's why they're called equal rights. So I'm glad that they stepped up. They made their voice known. I think it was very ironic that Atlanta ended up winning the World Series, but that's neither here nor there. Another story that happened this year is something that our boy Gigantor actually brought to the show, because I had no idea. Lionel Messi left Barcelona after all those years, and he went to PSG. That was, it's like if Michael Jordan left the Bulls and went to the Knicks.
Yeah, that exactly. If Michael Jordan left in his heyday and went to the Knicks and started playing over there and started dominating, and it would just be weird. It would be weird. I mean, Messi's one of the greatest players of all time when it comes to soccer. I follow him on the Argentina national team, and that's my national team that I follow for the Olympics. But just to see one of the idols move from one team to another like that, it's dumbfounding.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we are going to move on, and sometimes moving on is for the best. Another big story this year was the 2020 Olympics that were put on hold from 2020. Were played this year, put on hold after 2020 with the pandemic, and there were no fans in the stands. And it was a very interesting time to see. I mean, I love the Olympics. We talked about it a bit. One of the biggest stories out of the Olympics, though, was Simone Biles addressing her mental health issues and saying, you know what, I feel like the weight of the world is on my shoulders. She tried to compete. She's like, you know what, you guys give the Team USA a better chance to win than I do. So that her stepping up and speaking up about it was absolutely amazing to me.
It really was. It's one, and she just recently noted it well that she's still not ready to come back. She's still dealing with the issues, her mental health issues. But that was the first domino that really set the whole mental health into the stratosphere, saying a lot of us have mental health issues, and it is okay to ask for help. It is okay to take a day off. It is okay to take a step back and reevaluate what's important in your life. And if what you're doing is hurting you more than it's helping you, then you shouldn't do that anymore. So you saw NBA players like LeBron support 1000% what she was doing. You had people in MLB and all the different sports saying, yeah, that's something important. And you saw NFL players and NBA players take time away from the sport now because of mental health issues.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, it is pretty amazing that I thought it was interesting how many people actually like spoke out against her, saying that she's weak, she's this, she's that, and those are just people that don't understand mental health issues at all, and that's the damn shame of it. Another story that we saw this year was the story of Peng Shuai, the Chinese tennis star that disappeared after her allegation against one of their top officials, and we still really don't know what happened to her. Yeah,
that's a scary thing, and obviously China's a whole different breed out there. They do things a lot differently. There's a lot of restrictions on what you can and cannot say, what you can search on the internet, what you can access on the internet. It's very restrictive out there. So for someone to speak out like that, it is not uncommon for them to be to disappear. So her being a person of stature, being known worldwide, that's probably why she resurfaced, because it would have been an international incident or something like that.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to give you a couple more stories, non-sports related. January 6th. Do you know what happened on January 6th?
A bunch of idiots were let out of the pig pen and they stormed the Capitol.
Yep. January 6th. And all the trumpeters came out and says, no. And they stormed the Capitol. So that was interesting. I believe it or not, yes, that was this year. That was I don't know, man. It was one of the wildest things. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was at work and I'm listening to it on the radio. I'm like, how is this real? I don't understand how this is a real thing. And I'm just glad that we're seeing all the chips fall and all you dumb bastards getting locked up. Also, Biden was sworn in as the 46th president, and our very first ever female vice president was sworn in, Kamala Harris. So that was a fantastic story. Tiger Woods. In February, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine came out, the first vaccine for the COVID-19 pandemic. So that was pretty amazing. Also, unfortunately, that month, the U.S. surpassed 500,000 coronavirus deaths. This was one of the most the craziest years, the last 2 years. I've always said that 2021 was like the B side of 2020 because we're dealing with the aftermath of what we saw last year. We also saw in 2020, we saw everything what happened. George Floyd. We saw retribution for that. The police officers that were involved in that were locked up, and it was just more. We're just seeing that more and more. We saw a bunch of celebrities go to space this year too, man.
I mean, they got nothing else to spend their money on because, crypto's up and down. So they're like, oh, let's go to space. It should be fun. I'll be in space for all of 8 seconds and I can say I was in space.
Yeah, I think the last one, Shatner went up in there, and also, what's his name? Michael Strahan went up there too. Mm-hmm. We saw Carl Nassib, from the Raiders, come out as the first active NFL player to announce that he was gay, and he was actually out and a active player, like I said. So that was it matters until it doesn't matter, like I said then. Also, Bill Cosby got out of jail, man.
Oh boy, watch the pudding, man. Watch the pudding.
Where are you putting it? Oh man! All right, let's see. Do we have anything else here? Yeah, Shatner went to space. Look, I think that's it, man.
We have one more. There's one big one.
What do you got?
We had our 1 year anniversary.
That's true. That's
true. Huge, man. That's huge.
That is true. That was in June. I'll give you. You know what? That you're not wrong about that, but I will give you one that I appreciate in the depths of my heart. I'll give you one that my wife appreciates, and that was last month. Britney Spears.
Oh boy,
she's free Britney. She got that. But this is what I will say about this one. On November 18th, a very important story in my opinion. 2 men convicted of the 1965 assassination of Malcolm X, Muhammad A. Aziz and the late Khalil Islam, were exonerated after more than a half a century, after a 22-month investigation by the Manhattan District's Attorney Office, and the attorneys for the men found evidence of their innocence, because back then they would just throw the book at you and didn't care. That to me is a very significant story, that we're finally getting some of the stuff right. One of the things that we didn't get right, in my opinion, is everything that went on with Kyle Rittenhouse. That was also last month. So this was one of the wildest years that I can ever remember. Like I said, this was the aftermath of 2020. Everyone got cooped up in their cages, and their cages got rattled, and we had to deal with all that shit this year. So congratulations to those of you that made it through 2020 and 2021, because this is one of the wildest times in history, and I don't know if we're gonna ever see anything like this again. But then again, we also have 2022 coming up right around the corner, so we will see what is in store for us.
Hey, 2022. All I want to say is, 2022. Sit the fuck down on the couch and be quiet. That's all. Just calm the fuck down. Sit the fuck down. We handling this. Just shut the fuck up and just enjoy the ride, bro. We got this.
We'll see if 2022 makes any New Year's resolutions. Last thing I want to mention for 2021, this week was the birthday of one of my dear friends that is no longer with us. Mike One's birthday was this past week, and look, man, we miss you. I think about you and I talk about you all the time. So I didn't want to acknowledge that. I wanted to talk about it because this is always a time of year where he hated celebrating birthdays, to the fact where, like, if you were his buddy Gil that he grew up with, he put on Facebook a video earlier this week where it's like a random August day, and he's just giving him, he goes to the restaurant and tells the waitress, hey, it's his birthday, just to embarrass the shit out of him, because that was just that was something that he would get a kick out of, and you'd see that grin from ear to ear. So Mike, wherever you are, we're thinking about you. We love you, and you Mike One lives. That's all I got to say.
Well said.
All right, y'all. That is it for 2021. Thank you so much for listening. A big thank you to our sponsors, 606 Media, True Chicago Sports Fans, ACSI, and Grit Clothing Company. Don't forget to go to gritclothingco.com and get your official TCSF podcast t-shirt. Search for keyword True Chicago and use our promo code TrueFan15 at checkout for 15% off of your entire order. That's TrueFan15. Go and get your new shirts right now. Don't forget to visit our friends over at acsi.tech and kick off 2022 the right way with a new career. Go to acsi.tech and click on the communications. Go to acsi.tech and check out their career section to start an exciting new career in the communications industry. acsi.tech. Click on careers to apply today. Shout out to our friends at the Some of This and Some of That podcast. We will be having them on very soon. Check them out. Coach Mo and Justice do their thing. Check them out on all major platforms. And don't forget to check out the Shy Native Radio podcast, now available on all major platforms. Mike Logic, Ideal, and Throw MC talk about sports, movies, and all types of ill shit. Go and check them out now. Do not sleep. I keep talking about it because I want y'all to hear it. Mike Logic's new album, as I was saying, is now available. Check out mikelogic.bandcamp.com. MikeLogik.bandcamp.com. Logic with a K is now out. Go and get your copy. The brand new music video for his new single, So Low, is now available to watch on YouTube as well. Z, tell me how much you love this album.
Man, I love this album. I listen to this on a daily basis. I have a hard copy. It's in the Jeep, and it's awesome because you get to see the words on it. Because I have my Jeep about 2015 Jeep, so it's not as technological as your new vehicles now. But I listen to that one. 80 on the 94 is one of my other favorites on there. There's really not a bad track on there, man. I listen to it all the time, and I try to listen to it at work as much as I can too. I put my coworkers onto it too. So anybody that wants to listen to it or wants a review, come hit us up. I try to put some of those beats on there on the episode, so you guys can get familiar with it as well.
Yeah, speaking of that, shout out to Ronesh, Panic Series Beats, and custom made for the beats we played on today's show. Don't forget to check out paniconthebeat.com for all your Moleman merch and gear. And check out our other homies, prodbyserious.com, prodbyserious.com, and beatsbycustom.com. Check them out. Go get you some gear. Go listen to some great music and enjoy yourselves. Check us out on social media. You can find us at True Chi Fans on Twitter. That's at True CHI Fans on Twitter and on TikTok. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and reach out to us. Hit the DMs. Give us your Stirring the Pod ideas, your movie recommendations, and tell us what you think about the show. You can also email us at truechicagosportsfans@gmail.com. Before we get out of here, we'd like to pay tribute to the Archbishop Desmond Tutu. He passed away this week at the age of 90. As leader of the South African Council of Churches and later as an Anglican Archbishop of Cape Town, Archbishop Tutu led the church to the forefront of Black South Africans' decades-long struggle for freedom. His voice was a powerful force for nonviolence in the anti-apartheid movement, earning him a Nobel Peace Prize in 1984. If you do not know, this is a man you need to research, you need to respect, you need to understand his story, because along with Nelson Mandela, these were very important figures in really one of the very last legal ramifications for race relations. If you want another story about this, go ahead and read Trevor Noah's book called Born a Crime, where he talks about being born and raised in apartheid, which is just absolutely incredibly atrocious. It's just it was such a heinous thing to do to people, and to lose a man like this who had such an important role in ending it. It's a tremendous loss to the community and to the world. All right, y'all. For Big Z, this is E-Rock. We will see you next year for episode 78. Until then, Be good to each other.
For the love of sports.
Hey, we'll be better next year.
I mean, I hope so.
Got no choice.
No choice.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year, everybody.
A few moments later.
Wait, the Bears are what we thought they were. They're what we thought they were.
This is not how we wanted it to go. You almost can't even make it up. It's that bad.
Oh, my goodness! Didn't see that coming! Diddly-dee! What? Did we just become best friends? Yup!
You have a lot of incest.
That's real. Shut your mouth.
Lover boy.
Nature versus nurture, Lodge. Nature always wins.
I think he's on steroids.
Hasta luego, amigos. That's all. I shouldn't have those artichoke poppers.
Thanks, Cubs!